How's it going, folks? It is Matt back with another crypto video. Today's video is brought to you by Block 30 Labs. With their permission, I'm going to be showing you their presentation at the DigiByte Global Summit. It was a fantastic speech, and in that speech we learned about all the different products that Block 30 Labs is going to be offering, as well as some they may be offering into the future. One product that I found interesting was called, I think, the Block 360, and actually, if you buy the Block 360, that gives you, or you're actually holding a mix between digital assets like cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, DigiByte, etc., and you're also holding legacy assets like Amazon stock. So it's really neat what Block 30 Labs is doing, and the more success Block 30 Labs has, the more success DigiAssets will have, because Block 30 Labs has their own DigiAsset currency called blocks. And every DigiAsset transaction that happens has to pay the DigiByte network fee, which in turn would be beneficial to holders of DigiByte if the adoption of this and other companies start building on DigiAssets. So before I play the full version of the summit speech that they gave, I want to play a short little clip from it. This is later on in the speech, but it just gives some insight as to why they chose DigiByte's blockchain to build their product on, and it just matches up with how I was feeling when I first got into DigiByte as well.
And again, just leaning into the performance specifications of DigiByte under the hood. I see the England guys, like, we sponsor the Mercedes Formula One team at Epson. It's like every year you pick the best engine for your race car. And DigiByte, we just looked at it and said, okay, we've got the shell and the race team and the uniforms and the trade dress and the brand, and like, what is the best engine for our car? And DigiByte is just, everything can be powered by DigiByte. It's just the premier technology that you want under the hood. So we're really excited to package that up in a way that the average customer can quickly understand in one click.
So there you have it. That was one of the reasons that Block 30 Labs chose the DigiByte blockchain, and really that's why I first got into DigiByte. When I first went down the rabbit hole of cryptocurrency, I found it all interesting, but I quickly realized that blockchain is the, I guess, key driver. It's the, as they said, it's the engine. So I started looking for projects that I felt had the best blockchain, because I feel like that's what's needed for the actual mass adoption of blockchain technology. So without further ado, I will get into playing the full version of this speech. It is 26 minutes long, highly worth the watch, so enjoy it.
Block 30 Labs, we're here from California. Thank you so much. We're really excited to be here. Obviously, it's a really great honor to have had the announcement with Jared today that we'll be the first project launching on the newly created DigiAssets or DigiAssets platform. So that's a huge honor for us. We take it very seriously. A lot of what you don't see, we're kind of the final mile guys that come in at the end after the technology's built and get it out into that final layer of consumers and merchants around the world. So you don't see, on purpose, the years of work that goes into building something like DigiByte, starting with Jared, many others around the table from countries around the world. So for us, it's the fun and the easy part to get to take that decentralized technology and package it up in really simple ways for the customer or for the merchant or for the investor. So we are hugely thankful for and appreciative of all the work that's gone into DigiByte for the last 3, 5, however many years that you all have been working on it. With Jared, it's, I was asking him at the pub the other night, how long have you been doing this? And he's like, dude, I lived in Asia for like a couple of years, living in like sort of just like a small apartment, grinding away on DigiByte. And that's, you start getting around the United Nations table here in Amsterdam and, live feeds, and you're like, oh, it's so easy, just push a button. But I guarantee you, like, the amount of work that has gone into building the DigiByte blockchain and all the pieces that go along with that are incredible and highly valued by us. Anyway, so thank you for that. But now it's our job to try to be that final mile piece, like I said, where we come in, we try to package this up in the same ways that the credit card guys did, 30, 40 years ago. They're walking into merchant windows going, this paper bill is going to be this plastic card with a strip on it, and these stickers are going to go on your windows, and the merchant's like, just give me like my native fiat and go. So there's definitely a lag time to these things, and we want to try to be expediters of that. So So the slide that I like to start out with, I was just thinking about this the other night. There's Jared. Right? It's like, that is now a $1 trillion company, with an empire in the Pacific Northwest and many other countries around the world. But it starts here with ugly stained carpet and a janky monitor or three and a bunch of, wires and cords and stuff. And a guy, who's probably being ready to be misunderstood for 5 to 10 years before his technology gets out into the market. So as he and she build these things, it's really important for us, I think, to know that we're very, very early. We're in the 1% of folks that have bought, sold, interacted, invested with this type of technology. So in the same way that these folks said, the internet's going to be different. It's not just going to be an update to the fax machine. We're thinking that too with the blockchain and how disintermediated it can be, and how much economic autonomy it can build around countries and across borders. So we're extremely excited about trying to harness that back and give it some packaging that people will be able to understand, touch, feel, because once they do, it's on. So we're really excited about that. So why DigiByte? So as you heard just now with the global announcement, we'll be the first project to kind of formally launch on top of DigiAssets. We selected it across a whole number of matrix decisions. So speed, security, scalability, reliability, distribution, decentralization, low fees, and finally community, which you see here today. There's some empty chairs behind us, but there's a whole full section back there, which is awesome and great to see. And I know people are in from countries around the world. Guys that I couldn't wait to meet here today, that we've met on Twitter and stuff like that, where it's like, oh, you're from England, you're from Germany. So it's really cool. You have a friend everywhere you go with DigiByte. This is our team. This is just a picture we took the other day at our little WeWork office down in San Diego. So we're a lot of countries and languages, and brought together by a singular mission of trying to get blockchain technology into the hands of people that want to start trying to use it and understand it. So we're very focused in that sense. We've been a small, self-funded group for the last probably about 18 months. I met Jared almost a year ago. We were speaking together on a conference. During that time, we were in the process of trying to invent the Block 30 index, which is now out today. It's a multi-factor index that we were trying to give some shape to the market. We were really optimistic about what crypto and what blockchain technology could do for people, but we were disheartened by the fact that pundits were getting on the drive-by media saying, no shape, no fundamentals, will never work. Well, if you look at man-made markets over time, whether it was the 29 crash or the 90s internet crash or Bitcoin in 17, 18, they always go through these plateau cycles of the technology hype cycle, and then out of those ashes comes the Phoenix-type companies and the Phoenix-type applications that really have legacy staying power. And that's what we hope to be, is Wave 2 folks that learn from Wave 1 pioneers of the space, and trying to be that connective tissue between the original folks from Wave 1 that built this, and then moving it forward into the next wave of really sustainable businesses on top of the application layer. So that's the function of Block 30 Labs. And I think we have the team to do it. I'm highly honored by the fact that we have people on our unit that are working with Apple, Dell, Lexus, Royal Caribbean as brands to help get them out into, like I said, that over 7 billion people and 50 million merchant windows, and that's our goal now with blockchain technology. So we went out and got best of breed in every single zone. We call it a jockey for each horse. So we have guys that have rung the bell on the NASDAQ and the NYSE and Ryan Ballantyne. We have guys like Jeff that have scaled multi-million-dollar companies and are teaching at universities in the United States. We have Mark Grado, who does the branding and optics for some of the top brands in the world in consumer electronics and technology. So we just have an amazing team of people, many of whom are working at their cost, and for some upcoming tokens that we'll talk about as we move forward. But it's a true crypto project in that sense, and we're also all holders of DigiByte, so and we love it. So here are some clients and partners from our work history. just names you would know, and we want to try to get crypto out of the shadows and into the next wave of the internet, which we really see as 3.0. And it would be a shame if mega tech and collectivist tech, the same 5 big companies in the United States, if they own Web 3.0, Web 3.0 will have not realized its vision of decentralization and data security and privacy and economic autonomy. So you have a system in the United States where 84% of the stocks are held by 10% of the wallets. And you cannot build nations on that. You can't build generational continuity on that financially. So our goal with helping get blockchain into wallets around the world is to ensure that we have wealth spread and generational cohesiveness in terms of how we build our planet together economically. And it's really important. I mean, so we're an extremely mission-driven company in that sense. So the 3 ways that we're going to package up blockchain technology for consumers and merchants is give them the ability to buy, sell, and invest on the blockchain. Kind of the 3 things you need to do, the core pillars of what you need to do economically to be viable in the world. And so on our marketplace, we'll give people the ability to use DigiAssets in very functional ways, whether that's a high-end piece of art or a fractionalized portion of real estate in Idaho. You know, these sorts of things, concert tickets, a restored Ford Bronco, you know, these kinds of things where you say, okay, this has economic utility, but it's also a shared function of something that a global buyer or a seller or a global maker or creator or a global consumer and a global audience will be able to connect with one another in a more secure and binary way. And we're really excited to try to bring that value to the global marketplace. You've seen it with an Alibaba or an Amazon on top of the internet layer, but it's t-shirts and pacifiers. So we're not getting in the game of trying to have a website that pushes commodities, depreciable commodities. This is the exchange of value. So it's more upmarket, it's lower in transaction volume, but the premium is higher both between people and between the buyer and the seller. Secondly, we're going to have a pay wallet that will give people the ability to pay with multiple currencies at the shelf, both offline and online. So that's a merchant window, that's a website. So much of what we're trying to do is get these things from being in the hands of 1% of people to 99% of the rest of us that want to use, send, spend, pay, peg, all these sorts of things from their wallet, but just don't have the tool set to do it yet because it's so deep down in the tech stack. And so what we want to do is reduce the complexity and the mystification of this stuff and say, hey, this is really elegant technology. Yeah, lots of people are working on it. Don't look under the hood. It's very complex. But now you can send and spend with that at the merchant window in the same way you could use a credit card or Apple Pay from your phone. And we think that's a critical next step. So we'll be getting in the game on that. That wallet product is in beta right now. Adam Wolf, from the creator of DigiCafe, has joined our team full-time, so he's leading us as the technology lead. He's doing amazing work there. You'll be able to pay with DigiByte down the street or around the world, and so we're really excited to empower that, as well as Bitcoin and some other key things that we want people to use, including our own native token, which I'll be talking about. And then lastly, the third pillar of the stool is the financial product. So this is a really exciting product. We're actually running ahead of schedule on this, as we are with the rest of our entire project roadmap. This is a product that we had in mind. We put it out there last November, December. Hey, we're going to start taking digital assets, and in the exact same way as an ETF is a wrapper around stocks, we're going to put a digital wrapper around these other digital assets. Because a big part of these markets, and the reason why we only have 1% penetration so far globally, is that these markets go like this on price, right? And so people are scared. They go, oh, it's too hot to handle. I don't want to touch it. I heard it's a day trader's playground. And sometimes it is, and it is so. But we want to try to change that to guide major inflows. And the way that, the traditional financial markets have done that over the last 25 years, ETFs have become a $4.5 trillion product line. Simply because people said, okay, great. So with one click, I can own these 30 stocks in the Dow 30. And that's why we created the Block 30, is to start to take the Block 3, the Block 5, the Block 10, the Block 20, and the Block 30 over time, tie those to a really intelligent multi-factor index, and put them in a digital basket for the customer. And so we recently launched that here over the last month. with CoinBook in the United States to non-accredited investors, which is huge, I think, for crypto. And then secondly, we're going to be launching the Block 30 to global investors, as well as U.S. accredited here in Europe and elsewhere on the Black Moon platform. So I highly encourage you guys here in Europe to check out the Black Moon platform. They're doing stuff that is 5 years ahead of the traditional financial markets in terms of digital tokenization. So that's taking a basket of assets in a digital token, whether it's digital assets or stocks or bonds or real estate, and putting it into a digital asset like DigiAssets for the customer to buy and hold in one click from their digital wallet. And we really think that that's sort of the threshold moment for being able to step into mass adoption. So those are the 3 ways we're going to try to get this stuff out to people over the next 10 to 20 years. The business model we learned from on Web 2.0 was Alibaba. They've done a masterful job of getting in, like I said, t-shirts, pacifiers, mattresses. When you check out, you go into a pay wallet that now has almost 1 billion people in it. They also put you in one-touch click mode to a financial set of products. So this is the ground game that we're running, just with a different set of technologies for Web 3.0. But it's a good business model to learn from the commodity side. Here's just a sneak peek of our marketplace. We have sort of the first live beta version of this behind the scenes that we'll be rolling out. Not ready yet though, but you'll see kind of the look, feel, and trade dress that DigiAssets is going to be getting with this. Thanks. So we'll start to calibrate people by industry. So like I said, if you're a restoration guy or you're interested in buying 20% of a food truck in Miami, we see commerce really becoming shared in the economy. So you look at a Bird scooter getting a $3 billion valuation by pairing a rider with a scooter. So it's an incredible economy right now. VRBO, Bird, Airbnb, Uber, they all found really niche, deep vertical markets that took them into the billions on valuations. We'd like to try to do the same thing for the exchange of assets. And we all have them, right? I mean, everything is an asset if you look at it that way, or need to in your financial life. So we want to give people the opportunity to buy, sell, and invest on the blockchain. So we'll start to hover around recommendations for folks. I was on travel in Argentina in December, and we went to a place called the Vines of Mendoza, where they auctioned off to customers around the world. Each customer could buy a row of vines. That's a perfect illustration of what tokenization can be, where you say, you know what, we want to build a clubhouse, a 100-room hotel, a Francis Momon restaurant, and have a safari experience staff. You can auction off, like each one of these vines was auctioned off to a family. So like a family in California says, okay, I want to own part of a tokenized portion of a winery in Argentina. They get their own bottle each year, they get to show it to their friends, these sorts of things. And then the landowner gets to gain liquidity to build out new projects and stimulate disintermediated economic activity. So really exciting stuff that gets freed up really quickly here. So we'll do some real estate listings. Here's a vision of what like a product detail page would look like. In my day job at Epson, I have about 450 products that we have to manage at any given time on Amazon, Walmart, Best Buy, that sort of thing. And so you're always looking at your product detail pages, your videos, your imagery, figuring out what drives the customer to begin to engage in activity with one another on the buyer-seller level. We'll also be looking at some origin assurance type of products as well. So business listings. Millennials statistically are not buying the whole parcel. They're not buying standalone suburban homes in the United States. So our economic tools have to change in terms of how we communicate with these people that are, I'm 40 and I watch 40 and under, and their economic activity is totally different from people that are older than they are. And we need to adjust our tool set for them to be able to engage in what they're interested in. They'd much rather have 4 of them buy a rental and take it 5 weekends a year for Coachella and Stagecoach and then rent it out the other 48 weeks. They're very much a stay and pay and go away type of audience instead of buying the whole standalone suburban home, movie theaters, golf courses, on and on. I mean, the economic principles are changing very, very quickly. And in order for us to have a cohesive landscape economically, we need to create tool sets that give people a sense of being in the game, or some sense of economic activity where you lower the barrier to entry on economic participation. Physical assets, creative assets, etc. These guys are way ahead on that stuff, which is awesome to see. Origin assurance, these sorts of things. And then here's the pay client, so you'll start to see this come in. The goal is scan and pay, tap and pay, and then pay and pay for the merchant. So much of the objections we hear in the field, so we're like 90% of the point of sale market at Epson globally for receipts. So much of what you hear from the merchant layer is, dude, it's cool, there's no reason for me not to take it, but I need to be able to peg into my native fiat if they like their fiat, right? There's some zones like Venezuela or LATAM where they say, oh, I'll keep it in, Bitcoin or these sorts of things. But in strong fiat zones, you want to be able to pay and peg. And so we're very excited to start to partner with some technologies and exchanges that will be able to provide that custodial capability as well as that technology capability. And then lastly, our financial division. So Josiah, this is not a bank, promise. It's just an ability to take a decentralized public blockchain layer and lend it some immediate impact on the customer to be able to participate. So we don't have branches. We're not closed on Saturdays. We don't have hours. This is true economic activity in its purest form for the customer. And we wanted to do that in a way that gives people the ability to invest in one click. And that's absolutely critical. So if you see on the next slide, 57% of people are not investing. And that's huge. I mean, that's not a gap, that's a Grand Canyon. And it's really, really important for us to get people investing. This number goes to 99% in blockchain. And so it's great for all of us that are holding early if the market goes, but at the same time, we've got to get people in the mix. And a lot of that for the millennial, if you watch the way, and we did a lot of study of how they consume media or consume products, it's with one click in a basket. And so we need to be able to provide them with that. They go, okay, cool, so I can own the top 30 US stocks or European stocks in one click in this little round token on my phone. They're going to do that. You'll put spare balances to work on the blockchain if you can do that. We're calling it the Nest thermostat moment of finance, where you say, okay, my wallet's now on my phone. Wait, I don't need to just have it sitting dormant in a checking account. If I press go, I can actually own 20 mixed assets in one DigiAsset token. Really exciting stuff, and we think finance goes there over the next 5, 10, 15 years, and we want to be there. So the Block 3, this is currently outperforming $30 trillion worth of non-levered ETF and mutual fund products, so we're very excited about that. We're not Wall Street guys, but we're certainly excited to outperform. But we can't take the credit for that. We're just packaging up assets that guys like you are building, and so we're really excited to do that in very simple ways for the customer. And then Black Moon, this will be launching very soon. Future state, so phase 2 is about putting this into one digital basket for the customer. In this case, the example I've used is digital assets. And then over time, on the next slide, the end state is that true Nest thermostat moment, where you start to take one Block 360 mix token and you say, okay, what's my ideal outcome for my portfolio? Getting people thinking creatively about how they can tokenize assets into one click. That's the true end state of where we'd like to get, where you have Boeing next to Bitcoin, next to Facebook, next to Alibaba. Very exciting stuff that Black Moon platform is actually already starting to do today. So very honored to be a brand platform for them. And here's just a note from the CEO, former CEO of NASDAQ, who it's nice to get the substantiation. He says, right now 100% of the stocks and bonds could be tokenized. In 5 years, they all will be tokenized. So we're fine trying to be first on that game. Okay, so the final big announcement for today, and thank you all for your time, is that we have the Block 30 Labs ecosystem. You've sort of seen how we're going to get people from a marketplace, check them out on a pay wallet, and then offer them financial products in one click. So very cohesive 1, 2, 3 breadcrumbs. The final announcement that we're going to be making is that we are going to take on credit cards with our own native currency inside that ecosystem. So about $1 trillion in fees leaves the small business and customer wallet every year to credit cards. Credit cards have an average of 6 fees per card. So you have stores like our Kroger in the United States that is literally booting out Visa because their fees are so prohibitive. So we have an exciting set of technologies that can take that on and save that 3% back into the customer wallet or the merchant wallet at a near 3% level. So if we can put $1 trillion back into the economic system, we're really excited about that, even if it's in small chunks along the way. So that's what we're trying to do here. On the next slide, you'll see the way we've teed that up is, so this will be a DGB asset. This will be packaged as a DGB asset, and it'll be packaged for the merchant and for the customer, specifically for what they're calling in the United States a consumptive utility token. So this is a consumptive asset, the intent of which is to spend. So send, spend, pay, peg, right? You store your Bitcoin, you spend your blocks. And so we're trying to give a commodity-driven unit to the blockchain. If you watch the arc of cloud, it wasn't until Alibaba or Amazon packaged up the cloud into the merchant and the consumer layer in a way they understood it, and that's when it became $1 trillion business. We think blockchain is at that cloud moment. Just some coverage we're getting here. So this is packaging up things like DGB or blocks into our multi-currency pay wallet and putting it on Windows, stacking it up, right, and comparing against Visa, MasterCard, Discover. So blockchain isn't being packaged like this right now, and we're going to start with that today. So these stickers are in my briefcase, and we'll have a few of them up by the end of the night. I promise you that with these guys. So I know that. And again, just leaning into the performance specifications of DigiByte under the hood. You know, I see the England guys, like, you know, we sponsor the Mercedes Formula One team at Epson. It's like every year you pick the best engine for your race car. And DigiByte, we just looked at it and said, okay, we've got the shell and the race team and the uniforms and the trade dress and the brand, and like, what is the best engine for our car? And DigiByte is just, everything can be powered by DigiByte. It's just the premier technology that you want under the hood. So we're really excited to package that up in a way that the average customer can quickly understand in one click. And again, you start to look at credit cards. You say, okay, how can we stack up and compare? And the answer is that we can grossly outpace them on a lot of different fees that are not anything kind for the customer. And finally, just bringing it all together, here's like a marketplace listing where a customer come in, create a listing. So in this case, one of our angel investors is the owner of some amusement parks and some escape rooms in the United States. Let's say he wants to sell 10% of one of his locations in Kansas City for $10,000. So you come in, you learn about the business history, the listings, etc. As a millennial, you say, oh, I didn't know I could be a business owner. This is very cool. I get to play Shark Tank from my couch. And so you would create your security token. You would say the percentage you want to sell of that business. Check off your rules and your regulations and your compliance and your terms and conditions. Create the token. Customer goes to check out. We attack credit cards here on the fee layer with blocks, powered by DigiByte. So it's, do you want to check out here for Visa, or do you want to save 3% on blocks? So the #1 submission on Venmo right now in the United States is rent. So kids are paying rent on their credit cards, and they're paying 3% to do it. And you can't, that just doesn't work. So we see blocks as a competitive spend product right up against credit cards to unlock that $1 trillion plus in value and put it back into customers' pockets. So very exciting threshold moment here for that. And here's an example of how that'll roll out. So that's sort of what we got. Our project roadmap, we're just, again, super excited to be included in the DigiByte family and to make the global announcements today. All of our tech stack is in beta or live, so we're actually running well ahead of schedule on our project roadmap, which I know is very rare in crypto, but we're blessed to have an amazing team. So thank you all for having us, and we're really excited for the future. So thank you.